What is up, guys? The Strong Boys 19 here, and this is going to be the album review on a discography that I really wanted to do after many weeks of listening to many albums from this band that I'm going to be talking about. And for this occasion, I decided to go into the complete discography of one of my personal favourite metal bands of all time, and that is Iron Maiden. Now, bear in mind, I have already reviewed their 2015 album, The Book of Souls, so with that being said, I'm not going to do a proper full re-review of that album, as that I would have said pretty much the same thoughts and expressions of that album. But if you want to check out my review of that album, I will leave a link in the description below. So, let's go right back into the beginning, the very starting points in their career. And Iron Maiden released their self-titled debut album. And that is for me to review for this video. And this was released in 1980. And this was the beginning of a hugely tremendous and brilliant special metal band, as with later on, with many albums, they would become later on one of the most globalizing and highly beloved, successful metal bands in the world today. So Iron Maiden, in this very small period, this is off to something really strong. The production on this album was done by Will Malone, as this was the only album that he had done the production for. This album, he didn't do the production on any of their later albums afterwards. So this album is 40 minutes, and what can I say about the self-titled debut album? It is immediately one of these albums that is completely strong, and there are other things to describe this. This lineup consists of Steve Harris, Dave Murray, Clive Burr, Paul Di'Anno, and Dennis Stratton. That five lineup piece for this album is brilliant, and with that being said, I would have to say that this is a near perfect album. You know, it's like my thoughts on Black Sabbath's first album, that it does have a little bit of a heavy metal kind of vibe, but mostly like on a small piece of doom metal, but with some hard rocky blues rock kind of tones. But with Iron Maiden on this album, they just, basically went for it with the songwriting from one of metal's greatest, Steve Harris. I think Iron Maiden's first album immediately is off to a strong point in their career, and it's really no exception that this album has been quoted by many of the fans as one of the best. It was a critical commercial success when it came out, and the songwriting for me is awesome. It has a lot of things going on that have a lot of energy, a lot of energized musicianship on these tracks on here, lead guitar works and guitar riffs that were intriguing and really catchy. And I really quite like the backing vocals that were done by Stratton and Harris to accompany Paul Di'Anno's lead vocals. In terms of the favourites on here for me, I would have to say Prowler is an incredible opening track. Begins on a simple guitar riff to some bits of wah-wah, but when the band comes in all at once, the passion, the consistent passion is presentable on this track, but on later songs as well, like Sanctuary to Running Free, the title track of Iron Maiden, and even with some of the softer tracks like Remember Tomorrow, I really like how diverse the sound of this band got on here. Transylvania, the first and only instrumental on this album, is one of my big favourites. I think the songwriting between Stratton and Murray were a very, very good pair, although Dennis Stratton didn't stay with Maiden for too long, as that there were creative differences involved between him and the rest of the guys, as with some of the stuff that he used with the rest of Maiden's material have like a similar wishbone ash kind of sound, and I can really hear that because while I do like Wishbone Ash myself, some of their songs have that similar twin guitar harmony on their songwriting, and I think the twin guitar sounds on this first Iron Maiden album was really good, but I think that the songwriting would later on be really exploring and progressive in much more of the later albums. Paul Di'Anno's vocals on this album I think were brilliant. I really like the sound of his voice. While a lot of people do cite Bruce Dickinson as the best of the best in vocals, but I think Paul Di'Anno is definitely got to be one of these vocalists that has to be as important and as highly talented. And I like the sound of his voice on here with the excitement of the instrumentation, that it brings it more oomph. My little criticism with this album, though, is that I think the production sounds a little muffled in places, especially on the drums. Malone did a decent job, but it's easily, a very raw produced record. The songwriting on this album, so energized, really catchy, and great stuff with blazing guitar solos to the vocals from Di'Anno's vocal range that connects this style of music in the early style and stages of Iron Maiden's history. So I will have to say that this debut album is just easily one of the best ones yet. And that's really all I've got to say about Iron Maiden's debut album. Please let me know what you guys think of this in the comments below. I would be really interested to know. And I think the Paul Di'Anno period is as much an important period for the band like the most beloved period with Bruce Dickinson at that. So I'm going to give Iron Maiden's self-titled debut a 9.5 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.